Hey, what's up? So back with another Kaiki anthology series. Today we're going to go through the 2017 issue. This one here has a cover by Mori Tamaki, who, if you remember from the last video that I did on Kaiki as well, they did the front cover for this one here. So this is the 2016 version. This was the very first issue of the series. And so this is the second issue here, 2017. So Mori Tamaki did the front cover. And if you notice, comparing the two books and the artists that they have, a lot of the mangaka that you see here in the artists, the writers, do overlap. So again, for those who don't know what Kaiki is, it's an annual anthology of a lot of different artists that are from Hokkaido specifically. And so it's fronted and edited by Kudou Masaaki, who actually has stories in the issues themselves, used to be an Axe contributor. But yeah, so looking at this here, the first thing that we have is just a frontispiece by an artist who, this is the first time they appear in this specific issue. Their name is Akitaka Ameya. So they do this sort of realistic art style that is insanely good. And later on in the rest of the issues that you'll see for Kaiki leading up to like 2023, you'll see a lot of the covers actually are done by Ameya. So any of them that have this realistic sort of style is normally done by Ameya. So in this specific issue, I think I said before with the previous Kaiki issue, this 2016 one, it was kind of a hit or miss. Like, there are a lot of stories in here, and some of them are great, but some of them aren't as hard-hitting. So you get a variety of things and a variety of stories in all of these issues. But we'll just get started because the first one is a very interesting one. And just to reiterate again, the name Kaiki is supposed to mean like bizarre or strange. So it's not supposed to be just fully horror stories going through all of these here. Although, you know, the covers may look like it's a horror anthology, that's not the case. Because with this first story that we see, it's called Last Wish by Konjunko. So Konjunko, I don't believe they had a story previously in the 2016 issue, but this one here is not horror at all. It's actually kind of sad. What it is about a woman who is at sea at the moment, and she's trying to send a message to her lover on the phone, trying to get a sort of reply from them. But you can see here that they're getting angry and all that stuff. But the more that they send the message, the less unaware they are of their surroundings. So what happens is that they actually drown, unfortunately. So they're swept under and drown, and the lover goes and lays flowers for them. So it's a very short one, only a couple of pages. Same thing, same format as the other anthology as well. A lot of these stories are very short. This one was honestly a very sad one though, to start off the issue. But it was a great one. Konjunko I haven't really heard of before. Many of these artists I've never heard of before anyways. A lot of them are quite underground, or you know, they don't have any tankobon released, anything like that, so it's a bit hard to find some of their stuff. But what's really good about this Kaiki issue is that they actually have like a little, not really a biography, like a profile for each mangaka. They also have like the contact details. And I believe what it is here is maybe for each mangaka they have actually these movie recommendations. It might be movie recommendations, because for each mangaka they do have these little sections here talking about movies. So I'm not really sure what it is about, but yeah, starting off the issue with quite a strong chapter. And the next chapter is also quite interesting. The next artist I've actually followed for quite a while on Instagram. So the artist is Nakai Musubu, and the story translates to something like a beautiful boy's aesthetic detective story. So pretty interesting name. Here is a profile if you want to take a look at it, and there you go, there's their Twitter and Instagram. So what I actually know about this mangaka is that they say, or at least they state themselves to be a hikikomori artist. So, or hikikomori mangaka. So if you don't know what a hikikomori is, they're like the shut-ins. I believe it translates to shut-in. I think since 2008, they've said. So what they have is a very interesting art style. Number one, looks like it's all pencil drawn. But number two, their subject matter is, from what I read, I think a post recently, they shared a post from one of their exhibitions a while ago, and it said that one of their motivations, or I guess main interests that they like to put in their art, were like sexually, like sex pretty much. And you'll see that in a lot of the erotic content of their work here. So in terms of the stories themselves, it seems like it's supposed to be this over-the-top story about some detectives being killed by zombies. But if you notice the aesthetic of it, very pretty, to be honest. You wouldn't really recognize or from first glance think that this is a zombie story, but there you go. You've got some zombies there. What's his name? Sorry. Nakai Musubu also has an art book out, which I believe was actually released quite a while ago. I've had it on my list for quite a while as well. So I should actually pick it up sometime because I really do like the art. Sometimes the subject matter can get a little too sexy for me, so it's a bit of a debate sometimes on whether I would want to get the art book or not. But this story is great. A lot of nudity though, but very over the top. Looks very shoujo-esque as well. So very interesting artist. Hikikomori artist. I've never really encountered that so far, but that was a great one. So we'll move on to the next one now. This is also one of my favorites probably out of the entire issue. It translates to something like the Flowers of Faces, by an artist called Keisuke. So here is their profile. Keisuke. Pixiv, of course. Ameri. I'm pretty sure these are the movie recommendations. But yeah, Flowers of Faces by Keisuke. We start off here with a policeman or a detective walking into this woman's house, inquiring about some fighting, some potential domestic violence. And so he comes in, the woman introduces him, and we can see straight away from the woman that something is wrong. There must have been some violence somewhere. But as the detective starts to question more, things, I guess, seem strange. Until we get the reveal that it was actually her that was the killer. So she was the one, I guess, that killed her husband, which is a big twist. But yeah, this one, in terms of why I thought it was my favorite, number one, I really like the art style. I've never really heard of Keisuke before. But number two, very short. So page 31 until page 36, only 5 pages of a story, but quite hard-hitting as well. So I think if you are looking for longer stories, longer mystery, horror stories, I wouldn't really recommend Kaiki. Kaiki is dedicated to quite short works. A reason why as well is because they are a self-published circle. So they're not, published by any big publishing houses. It's just an independent thing, like a doujin thing done by Kudou Masaaki. So you know, it is quite limited, but it's still going. I mean, the most recent one came out in this year, I think. So it's still going strong, which I'm very happy for because it's unique. It's unique, and getting this amount of variety in a book is great as well. Okay, so moving on. Speaking of Masaaki, here he is. So this is a story by Kudou Masaaki, the editor or the main person who is organizing this Kaiki series. This is a story that is titled Mystery. So what I love about Masaaki's art style is the very bold lines that he loves to use. And Masaaki also had his own story previously in the 2016 issue as well. But this one is quite a, I guess, yeah, it's horror. Also quite funny as well. All right, so what we have here is we've actually got a meeting between an editor and a mangaka, or maybe just I think maybe just a normal woman, might not be a mangaka, but she here is introducing this book that has it's titled Mystery. And so she wants him to read it because apparently it's a doujinshi that she wants him to read. But the editor, I guess he's like full of himself. He doesn't want to read any doujin work. So he kind of refuses for a while until he's actually read a story from the woman. And what the story is that the woman is actually reading a story about a man's bones breaking in the actual book itself. And so when he hears it, his own bones start to break. So if you take a look at this, all of his fingers start to break. She's still reading, oblivious, and he's just dying in front of her. And if you take a look at her facial expressions there, I think she's doing this on purpose, because of his contempt of doujin works, too full of himself. And the story ends with him just losing his shit. So this one, that's the reason why I said it was kind of also could be funny as well. Just the way that she continues to torture him as he tries to tell her to stop. So yeah, that was a great one. 2 out of 2 so far in terms of loving Kudou Masaaki's works. So the next part we have is actually an interview. So this woman here, you may know if you followed, I still believe she is still in Axe. If you follow the Seirin Kogeisha, like Twitter or other socials, this person here is Noriko Tetsuka, who is the editor-in-chief for Axe. So Axe, which if you are unsure of, I've done a couple of videos on Axe previously. It's the manga magazine that came after Garo to sort of continue its spirit. A lot of the mangaka in Axe moved over from Garo as well, so you see a lot of overlaps here. So it's an interview with Noriko Tetsuka, which you'll see, this is their office. Just a bunch of pictures and I guess just info about Axe. So this dog as well, I see this dog a lot. It's probably her dog. But yeah, that's slowly, I mean, from the previous issue in 2016, I don't think they had any interviews. They had like, you know, written fiction stories, but not, no, actually, no, they did have interviews. It was with one of the Mandarake stuff. No, they did have interviews, my bad. But in this case, pretty cool. This was for the 20th anniversary of Axe, if you see over here. So that was why they were interviewing Noriko Tetsuka. So that's pretty cool, just giving some variety to the content in this book here. So let's continue on to the next one. This is by another mangaka that has also appeared previously by the name of Mori Masayuki. And this story is titled Hand. So Mori Masayuki has done a couple of tankobon. I do want to pick up some stuff by them sometime, but it's not too much on the priority list at the moment. But I guess out of the stories that I've seen so far from them, they do like more emotional, heartfelt stories, I guess I could describe it as. And this one does sort of fit that. So this one is called Hand. And this girl here, this high school girl, she reminisces about the time she had with her lover, and about the time that they held hands. And so in this case, though, I guess I wouldn't really say it's heartfelt, but emotional, definitely. She is thinking about her lover and thinking about the sensation of holding his hand, but she realizes that his hand is like dead cold when he holds it, and it's revealed that the lover had unfortunately died from a severe cold 3 years earlier. So yeah, this one was quite a sad one. Similar to the one in the 2016 issue as well, the previous issue had a similar story where it dealt with like someone, like a relative dying. So love the simple art style of this, but yeah, quite an emotional one, quite a sad one. So let's continue. We're halfway through the issue. The next one is another interesting one, actually. This is called Kouta, Good Morning and Good Night. So Kouta is the name of one of the characters by Taka. So Taka, if you saw the previous video on Kaiki, Taka does these very simple drawings. Like, I wouldn't even call it heta uma. This is just like, I guess the most simple could be. But that's not a bad thing, because the story, at least this story, was a bit horrifying, to be honest. So Kouta is this kid over here, and he and this is his mum, right? So what's happening is just that we start off with him just being with his mum, chilling, doing whatever. But it actually turns out that Kouta, it's revealed that Kouta is the aborted son of this woman. And so what happens is we have Kouta here. I believe it's like when the woman gets pregnant with another man later, she has this vision of him screaming at her that he wants to be born as well, which is honestly horrifying. A very simple drawing here, but knowing the background and knowing the story behind this made me, I guess, have chills, honestly, a little bit. And so she kind of she sees this sort of vision, and you can see the marks, the strangle marks that he inflicted when he was holding her there on her neck, which is horrifying, actually, to the point where she can't really deal with it anymore, and she actually takes her own life. And it ends there. So very sad and very horrifying. Big contrast to the art style that we have here, but I actually like that story a lot. So Taka is a hit or miss for me. You know, with the art style, very simple, so it is relying more on the story a lot of the time. But I mean, I've only read 2 stories from Taka. I'm not sure if he or she appears in the rest of the Kaiki issues. I mean, I've only read 2 so far. I'm taking it kind of slow with these because there's just so many different stories and so many mangaka that are new to me. So it's like an information overload. But that one was a great one. So we'll continue with some of the rest. It sort of shifts the mood into a more gag and humorous type of thing as well. This is a story, what is it called? Jyuunin Iro, I believe. I'm not sure what it translates to, but it's by a manga named Miyanomori Shuutaro. And this one it's just a story about a guy who can see farts and of course smell them. But starting off, if you recognize this here, this one is actually a reference to a specific scene in Kazuo Umezu's horror manga, The Devil's Left Hand. No, is it God's Left Hand, Devil's Right Hand? Yeah, God's Left Hand, Devil's Right Hand. This is the scene where the sister starts vomiting everything out of her body. So like she vomits dirt, she vomits like bicycles out, she vomits skeletons out. So it's a reference to that, which is pretty cool to see. But yeah, just about a guy who can see farts. I don't really have any comment on this, to be honest, but yeah, that's that story. Next story is again shifting the mood as well. So this one is called Inside the Hearts by a mangaka named Yanafumi. Yep, so Yanafumi, more of a shoujo style work. It's from, I guess I didn't really understand it fully, but I got the premise of it. We're following two friends here, these two girls. They are just having lunch and they play the Kokuri-san game, which is kind of like that ghost game where it's similar to what was that, the Ouija board, you know, where you put a coin and like the thing moves to create an answer. I think Kokuri-san is similar. I will check and put it in the description if I'm right or wrong, but it essentially just ruins a friendship, I believe. I think maybe one of them asked, yeah, she asked like, oh, like, do you hate me, I guess, or it might be a true or false thing. I don't know. I'm not really too sure, but essentially it ruins their friendship. And yeah, that was that story. So continuing on, The Finger by SF007 also appeared in the last issue as well. This one is more of a traditional horror work. So what we start off with is, so I'll just give the profile for SF. We start off with a man who actually has 6 fingers, but he didn't always have the 6 fingers. It grew overnight. And when he visits the doctor, they can't really explain it, but we have more fingers popping up. He tries to actually sever one of them, which I guess I respect for his courage, but it becomes sentient and latches itself on to his face. And so more and more grow until it comes to this point where completely just filled with fingers, which is another horrifying sight. Probably one of the scariest things in this entire issue as well, but yeah. Although it does, I guess it does turn into a funnier tone when you see the last page of him. This is just him as a finger entirely. So yeah, what I really like about these issues is that because they are not straight horror manga, you kind of get a mix of tones and atmospheres. Like sometimes you get stuff like this, which is kind of funny, which is a little bit more refreshing than just having it straight and having it uniformly horror stories. So that was great as well, SF007. So let's move on to the next one. We've got one by Emoto Shuu titled Banana. Oh no, this is the written work, which I didn't really read. This is by Kudou Masaaki. So similar to one of the stories beforehand, this is just, it's not manga, but written fiction instead, so I didn't really read that. But yeah, this is the one I was talking about, Banana Boat by Emoto Shuu. Here you go. And this one is where we follow this guy who's out at sea. His boat sinks, but he finds a giant banana for some reason. So there he uses it to try and survive, but you know, tries to survive with all these fish and stuff, but at some point he dies because, you know, there's an extent to how long you can live on a banana. But the people that find him are kind of confused because they're wondering why he's just got a banana in his hand. So the story ends there with the confusion of the people. So interesting. I wonder how the mangaka came up with that, but you know, that is what the story is. So nearly done here. Work by Ikeda Takami is the next one, and the profile only just says mangaka, so quite mysterious. Oh no, they do have socials, but no profile at all. So this is work by Ikeda Takami. So it starts off with these two girls here. They are complaining about work. Looks like they're just catching up over some coffee, and pretty much it's just them talking about it, and again still complaining, you know, oh, work is killing us, that sort of thing. But we have the reveal that they are actually demons, that their job is to torment those in hell. So that was the job that they were complaining about, and the twist. So yeah, there it is, hell work that they call it. So a lot of these funny twists with very short stories. This was only, again, a couple of pages, but yeah, that was a great one. Moving on, so we've got two more stories. This next one is called Snow Girl by Egawa Tarou. Big contrast to Ikeda previously, big profile here, the socials. And Snow Girl is set in a high school where this girl here moves in, and the main character, this boy here, I guess, takes an interest to her. He gets bullied. Or does she get bullied? No, she gets bullied. Her name's Yuki. She gets bullied from the get-go, which is quite sad. Her shoes get thrown in the trash. But Ando, who is the name of this guy here, he helps her. And he seems to like her a bit. But she confesses that everything is okay because she's actually a Yuki Onna. So if you don't know, a Yuki Onna is translated to snow woman. They are like a yokai that appear in the mountains when it's snowing, and they, like, I guess, freeze people, and pretty sure they kill them. I mean, I've seen a couple of different Yuki Onna in stories, but I'll put a link to like all the specifics of what they actually do. But yeah, she is a Yuki Onna, confesses it to him, and she says it's fine because she'll be going away anyways. So yeah, that's that story there. And we go on to the last one, which has an interesting name. Poopooh, or Poopooh, I guess that's how it's pronounced. By Akemix. Akemix did do a story as well in 2016 issue. This is a more complex story, I would say. So this girl here, she goes out to hunt, and I believe she's killed by a bear. But when she wakes up, she discovers herself as a bear. So she is hunted by the village because, you know, she looks like a bear. And she tries to warn them, but doesn't really work. So here they are hunting the bear. And yeah, so the sister tries to warn the village. She is able to only warn her sister, but the village doesn't really take notice. It's only the sister that knows. And when they eat the woman who is a bear, so this is the sister here who realizes what is happening. No one really knows, but after everyone eats her, it is said that the village was wiped out by a plague soon after. So quite an interesting one. As well, even though it was short, I think the pacing was quite good with all of the lore and everything. But yeah, I think Akemix, after these 2 issues, has been a favorite of mine. I am curious to see what other stuff they have done. I don't believe they have released any tankobon, but you know, we'll see. We'll see once I read the rest of the issues. It will be 2018 next, but at the back of it, this is just advertising. So as I was saying before, these are the works. These are the frontispieces by Akitaka Ameya. Right, and this is just the back, the first issue, and that's the ending. So another Kaiki issue done. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.